Okay, I'm back with the second portion of this, which I haven't thought of a name for it yet, but I will. Now, I want to show some of the textures of orbs. This is a real close-in view of an orb, and to me it looked like corduroy, a fabric that used to be kind of popular. I don't see it around much anymore, but anyway, see how it's all bunched up? And sometimes I see an orb and film one and get such a beautiful scene in it that I will use my Picasso to put words in it. Picasso is a photographing picture album thing. Anyway, I wrote in here some words from a metaphysical book. I think it was called The Starseed Transmissions. Anyway, it says, stardust, frozen starlight. You call it matter. It is an art form with which we have worked for 20 billion years. Now this one, I think it looks pretty much like a flower. They can look so many ways, and sometimes you get the light before it goes into the shape of an orb, when it's just out there moving around. Now see, this top part might have been beginning an orb, because you see the roundness of it. But light is not obligated to stay in its orb. In these pictures you'll see it can do anything it wants to do. Now look at this one, how strange. The orbs are folding up and zigzagging and carrying all kinds of little characters in them. I don't know what to call them. I see this quite a lot with the naked eye too. It's kind of a little X looking thing. And there's all kinds of rings in orbs, you will see from some of the pictures I will show you. Now this one, I'm going to show you a succession of this. This light looked like it was maybe a cocoon of light around some creature, like we have with our butterflies and the caterpillars that form the cocoon. Now see, it looks like there's several in there. 1, 2, 3, one about to emerge there. And then I got up even closer in it. And for all the world, it looks to me like a cocoon. But I have seen light do so many things that I'm thinking there's not much it can't do, because light is all that we have. That's all that we're made of, or anything we look at is made of. Everything is light. Quantum physicists are telling us this nowadays, but the mystics of old told us this many years ago. But we're just now catching up with them. And there it is. Now this one is very colorful. So many of my orbs are very colorful. And no two alike. And see, this one isn't round at all. It's just a portion that I took a picture of, and it looked like a jewel to me. Very beautiful. And see how in this one there's two that seem to be merging with one another, or passing through one another. Or sometimes they look like they just bunch up like a bunch of material that is folding on one end. And this one I thought looked like a wave. I'll adjust my camera a little bit here. And I thought that rather beautiful, like a wave. And a very colorful fanned out portion of the light here. Sometimes the colors can be very, very intense, like this one. Sometimes I start seeing only pretty much purple and violet colored orbs, and I'll get several of them right in a succession. And I like the violet ones, they're pretty. One time and I haven't done this again since that day, the orb I got was kind of honeycombed, like this one. I mean, this is the one. And then quite often I get several orbs in various stages of their orb making. This looks like many of them, kind of all wrapped together before they're completely formed. And if you get up really close inside the orb, you can get these most spectacular pictures of color in the orb. And it's really interesting just to look at the colors. Look at this one. So much yellow in this. Many of the orbs have a multiple colors in them that just move this way and that. Now, I just cannot see this as being caustics or Newton's rings or lens flare. Of course, I know it's not any of that because I do see these colors just when I look at light. And it's beautiful. It's like I'm tripping on light. I don't need a psychedelic drug. I just look at light and I can be there. Now, one time on August 13th in 2013, I got this thing right here. See, it looks like a ring, like a donut. And it just was in those orbs that first come out of the light very plainly. All the color wasn't in them, but there was this ring thing that was in all of them. And I have not gotten that again since that one day that it came in the light. Don't ask me what it is. I have no idea. But it was really interesting that day to get this ring. But look at all the rings. Everything's rings. Rings here and rings everywhere. Small ones, little ones, ones with dark centers, ones without dark centers. All kinds. Okay, now this little character, I call him Harry. At first I thought Harry was debris. And then over time, as I kept finding him in my orb taking, picture taking, he would just fall down into an orb. And then sometimes he wouldn't, and I would look for him and look at many orbs, searching for this little character I call Harry. And I have videos of myself finding Harry and calling for him. It seemed like when I say, Harry, show yourself, he does. So I kind of feel like he is a light creature. And like there's this little bit of communication that I want to see him and he shows up when I call his name. Because a name I gave him. But he may not be either male or female. He may be just a critter of light that doesn't have a gender. Now look at that one. It zigzags all over the place. And this one I thought was very unusual. The light is traveling. And see, this part right here is actually another orb. Because I said, like, this bright streak of light right here, down the middle, can make another orb. Because orbs out of their own selves make other orbs. And I don't know if you can see in that close, but there's tiny little circles. Some other views will show you these circles better. Sometimes the light looks like a torrent of very colorful rain. And I like it when it looks like this. It's so beautiful. And sometimes I get a lot of violet in many orbs in a succession. I always like that when I get the violet light in them. Some orbs look like they have what looks like bones running through them. And then you can get some like this, and this maybe several orbs in there in motion. Looks like a rack of rib bones to me. But that's just what they visually look like. I have no idea what the light is doing in any of these photographs. There's my little friend Harry again. See how he will be in one orb and not in the others around him. Now at this point I also want to introduce you to some of my artifacts. They are things that are in my camera that show up in the same place in the picture, so I know they're like stuck inside my camera. But at first I only had this one I'm pointing my arrow to right there, this little bitty one. That was the only one I had. But they started growing in number. Now I have this one right up here, I have one right up there. I will be showing you these individually. I have this one that looks like a little fairy, and down here there's a double jointed one, which these artifacts only show up when I use a certain camera that they're stuck inside of. But this little double jointed thing showed up with the orb that I took with a different camera. So I thought, oh, if you're something stuck in that other camera, how is it that you're over here with my newer camera and there you are again? So what is it that is in my old camera is what I started to wonder about. There's Harry again, but he's not so well defined here. He has little white spots that seem to just float in a certain place around his body, but they don't seem to be attached. They just seem to be separate but fixed in certain places around him. And I get some very colorful orbs that I get close up into, and I see this pattern right here that you see. I see that a lot in orbs. And this one is very strange. I just wrote in there, it makes you think, what is it? I'm always asking myself. I live with this mystery every day because I see this in the light every single day. I see orbs similar to these. And I'm always wondering, what does it mean? Why am I seeing this? Anyway, sometimes an orb has a portion missing from it, like it was just sliced right out. Like if this were a cake, this is a portion that someone took, a very big piece of this cake. But anyway, they will look that way quite a lot. And then sometimes they do this kind of thing. They just blossom up like a flower. There's so many ways the orb can mold itself into. And like I say, I don't know if I've said it yet, one of the things that determines how the light moves through the glass, the reflection off of the glass that I'm focusing on, is dependent on the shape of the glass I'm getting a shiny spot of light off of. If it's a marble, if it's only round, a glass marble, I will only get a round orb. But if it's something like, I'll bring one of them down here, something like this thing that's a candlestick holder that has different shapes of glass, then I will get different shapes of orbs. So the glass is determining how the light travels through it. Look at this one. Can't quite make out what's happening there. They're very, very colorful. Sometimes I just fall in love with the color scheme of some of these orbs. And no two alike. This one looked like the top of a bottle. A soda pop, maybe. And when the light moves, it looks like an earthworm. It moves. And I call this the head. And sometimes it makes a complete circle, or another orb opens up that's a different orb from the one I'm filming, and it will go into that other orb. And sometimes I'll get into such a colorful orb that I just go real close up in it to get more and more of that color. It can be very wild, the colors. And then orbs can do this. They can twist right in the middle. I'm almost at 15 minutes, so I have to end this, and I will do another one.